Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. I'm still working on getting the ERR Cruise Commander into these B&O Williams E7s. The trucks have been cleaned and everything's been reinstalled, and I'm ready to go with the wiring, I think. I've redone wiring for the motors and the center rail and common rail pickup. This is for the front coupler. I don't have sound installed yet because I haven't really decided what I'm going to do. Tried a couple things. I thought I needed an amplifier, but there's a little rheostat or something on the side of the soundboard, and you can really crank up the power, and it was on the lowest setting. So I guess I could either set it to the lowest setting and use an additional amplifier, or just crank this up. So what I did was I hooked up the speakers while it was just sitting here without the trucks. I just powered the board up and I played the sounds. And at the highest volume, it was distorting, crackling, maybe clipping the speakers, I don't know. So I turned it down until I had a consistent and good sound. I also hooked up 2 speakers to it, and it sounded a lot better than just one. I was trying to figure out if I could get 2 speakers in this engine instead of one in this and one in the dummy. The speaker part I haven't figured out yet, but I figured let me get the power and the motors hooked up and see if that all works. Then I can worry about sound. For sound, I have a connector here so that I can disconnect everything without touching the board. I can just pop them out right there. At least when I'm trying to figure something out like this, I connect and reconnect, and I was messing up the harness. There's not much wire left, so I figured that would be a good idea. I'm going to remove the soundboard. So let's take that out of the way just for simplicity's sake. I'll put the screw back in that's holding the fuel tank because I don't want to lose it. So now it's a little easier to see. I've got red, black, blue, and yellow coming from both ends of the locomotive. Common and hot for power. So maybe we'll do common first. I got the ground and the ground. And I don't want to have a lot of excess wire, but I want to have enough that I can make adjustments if need be. I think that would be good right there. You can just stick the wire in like this, but I was thinking maybe tinning it would be a good idea. Kind of keep the wires together, make them a little more solid, maybe provide a better contact, because even twisted together, once you tighten that, it pushes on it, it's going to separate the strands. You know, now I'm assuming that the wire is going to fit with 2 wires soldered together. So the common is that one. Is it going to fit? It doesn't seem so. You know, maybe with the board not screwed down, it'd be a little easier. It actually looks like a pretty small spot, which I think is interesting. I wonder what gauge wire you're supposed to use. Well, I guess a single wire is all that's really going to fit in there. I was disappointed I couldn't fit both wires twisted together into there because it'd be less connections, and that sort of thing makes me happy. But I guess I'm out of luck. The center rail. Same thing, I want to make sure I have enough, but not too much. When I started, I said I was going to tin these wires before connecting them, but I just can't get them in there. I'm not going to tin them, and we'll just see how it works. So I feel like the connections on the board should be bigger, if only to allow those of us with failing eyesight to get it done a little easier. I mean, it doesn't need to take 16 gauge wire, but I wouldn't mind it being that big so I can actually get this wire in there. Well, it's connected. Hot and common are connected. So now we have to connect the yellow wires and the blue wires. All right, so I'm going to solder the yellow wires and blue wires together, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got the yellow and the blue wires ready to go, but I also noticed I broke these off the switch. So hopefully I can see enough to get them back on, because I really can't see it. I mean, I can, but I can't. Okay, well, I was able, with the aid of the magnifying light to get them reconnected. So that was just a matter of resoldering them to the points on the switch. Well, back to what I was doing. To connect the yellow and the blue. I don't know that it matters. Well, maybe if when it starts up, since it should start up, well, it will start in neutral, but when I hit the throttle, it should go forward. So if when I hit the throttle, it goes backwards, then I guess I flip the yellow and the blue. That would make sense. Whether or not that's the case or not, it's another issue. Wire's in there. Okay, the wires all seem secure. Then, since this isn't in our way, we can run this back and plug it in. We now have the track power wired to the board, and we have the motors wired to the board. Well, I guess it's time to put it on the layout and see if it works. There's no soundboard right now, so we won't hear it, but let's see if it moves. Track 1. Track 1's got power. Engine 66. Oh, look at that. It's going the proper direction. Reverse works. That's nice. Ah, even the front coupler works. Nice. I know it's got new cars on it, but that's a pretty slow crawl. All right, so now that that all works, it's time to move on to sound and also wiring whatever I need to wire to the dummy unit.
How's that track look? Are we clear? Over. Affirmative, the track is yours. Over.
So if I turn up the board too much, it clips out like that. So then the question is that loud enough, or do I try putting an amplifier? I'm thinking it's loud enough because I usually don't run my engines that loud. And once you have 2 or 3 running, you really can't tell what's making the noise anyway. Maybe I'll leave the sound system set up like this with the 2 speakers and no amp, and just see how I like it as it goes. I kind of skipped over what I did with the sound and how I installed it. I initially had the board over here standing up using one of the screws for the fuel tank underneath to hold it in place. But because of the support here in the cab, I had to move the speaker forward from where it was here. This support would hit the side of the speaker and it wouldn't go on. So I moved the board towards the back, moved the speaker forward, and stood this one up so that it would fit in the space. My initial thought was to have both speakers in this unit to simplify wiring. I do think I'm going to change that back to the original idea of putting one speaker in the powered unit and one speaker in the dummy. There just really isn't enough room to set them the way I want them and to isolate the vibration. Maybe mount the speaker on top of a little bit of foam so it absorbs some of the vibration from it. I'd love to get the speaker in some sort of enclosure. The shell of a locomotive helps a little bit, but I really think if this speaker was in a cup, you know, to isolate the front from the back, it would sound better. The first step though really is I'm going to take the speakers out, redo the wiring, have one speaker in this unit and then one in the other. I don't know exactly where I'm going to put the speaker. I might even move this board again, but it all works. So that just makes me happy. The power and the ground from the track, and then the 2 wires to the motors. And this is all pretty simple when it comes down to it. A lot more simple than I thought it would be. The only other things attached to the board right now are the soundboard, which is clipped in over here, the front coupler, the antenna, and then the switch for program run. Other than the sound, what still needs to happen is I need to install the lighting, and those wires go on this section here. We have the front lights, the rear lights, and the common for the lights. And then this last one is for, might be marker lights if you want them to operate independently. I'd have to look into it really. I didn't quite understand what you would do with that. And then this connector here is for the rear coupler. As far as the dummy unit is concerned, I have the wires that come up for the coupler. I don't know what I'm going to need power for separately in this unit, or if I want to share the pickups between the units. I guess it's going to depend how many wires are going back and forth. But since I wasn't sure what I was going to do, I took the center rail and the common and wired them to a connector on both the front and the rear. If and when I need it, I can just plug something in and be ready to go. That way it's there without having to do more work, and it's also protected. It's not going to short out on anything. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.